The older Italian lady seemed totally stranded amid the chaos of Times Square. Tears of pure frustration welled up in her eyes while she stared at a map she clearly could not read. Crowds of tourists just hurried right past her, entirely too wrapped up in their own plans to care. I knew I couldn't just keep walking. "Excuse me, ma'am, can I help you?" I asked her in Italian. Hearing her native language instantly washed the panic from her face. "Oh, thank God, yes please," she said, gripping my arm as if I were her only hope. "I am completely lost. I don't speak any English, and nobody here understands me." "It's okay, I am right here to help," I reassured her, steering us toward a quieter corner. She handed me a Brooklyn address, definitely located in a wealthy residential area, far from the tourist traps. "My grandson lives over there," she explained in a thick Sicilian accent. "He was supposed to get me, but my flight landed early and my phone doesn't work in America." For the next 20 minutes, I guided her through the subway maze, bought her a Metro card, and explained the routes. She was incredibly sweet, reminding me so much of my own late grandmother. "You are such a kind girl," she told me on the platform. "What is your name?" Elena Rossi," I replied. "What a beautiful Italian name. Are you from Italy too?" "My grandparents came from Naples, so I grew up speaking the language at home," I explained. "But I was born in America." Our train ride flew by. She talked about her Sicilian hometown and her grandson's move to the States, while I shared details about my freelance translation business. By the time we walked up to her grandson's address, a stunning brownstone on a quiet, expensive street, we were fast friends. She knocked on the heavy door. A massive guy in a dark suit opened it. He practically screamed security. "Mrs. Moretti, we were just leaving to get you," he said in Italian, looking shocked. "My plane was early," she replied, "and this sweet girl Elena helped me get here." The guard, who I now definitely realized was a bodyguard, sized me up. "You speak Italian?" he asked. "Yes, I just wanted to make sure she arrived safely," I answered. Suddenly, a deep voice called out from the hallway. "Rocco, who is at the door?" A tall, heavily muscled man in his early 30s stepped into view. He had dark hair, sharp Italian features, and intricate tattoos covering his forearms. His presence demanded immediate attention. The second he saw the older woman, his stern face softened. "Grandma, you arrived early," he said in rapid Italian. "It's not your fault, Dante," she told him. "Look, this lovely girl helped me." Dante locked his intense dark eyes on me. "You helped my grandmother?" he asked in Italian. "She was lost in Times Square. I just showed her the right train," I replied. "She speaks perfect Italian," his grandmother added. "She even walked me to the door." "It was a pleasure to help," I said, taking a step back. The air around this man felt dangerously electric. "Now that she's safe, I should get going." "Wait," Dante said, and I noticed Rocco positioning himself to block my exit. "What is your name?" "Elena Rossi." "Really, I should go." "Do you know Brooklyn?" his grandmother asked. "Could you stay for dinner? I would like to thank you properly for your help." "That's very kind, but I don't want to intrude." "It's not an intrusion," Dante said, switching to perfect English. "You helped my grandmother when no one else stopped. The least we can do is offer you a proper meal." His eyes held mine. "Please stay." Something about the way he said it, polite but with an underlying command, made me nervous. This wasn't just a grateful grandson. This was someone used to being obeyed. "1 hour," I heard myself say. "But then I really need to go. I have work." 1 hour, he agreed, but his slight smile suggested he didn't believe I would actually leave so soon. Inside, the brownstone was as beautiful as I had expected. Expensive furniture, art on the walls, the kind of wealth that didn't need to announce itself. But there were also family touches. Photos of Dante with his grandmother, religious icons, a warmth beneath the obvious money. "Sit, sit," his grandmother insisted, guiding me to the dining room. "Dante, offer her something to drink and call me Rosa. Mrs. Moretti makes me feel old." "You are old, Grandma." Dante teased her gently in Italian. "You're 80 years old, 80 young years." I couldn't help but smile at their banter. Dante caught my expression and his eyes warmed. "What would you like to drink, Elena?" he asked. "Just water, thank you." He disappeared into what I assumed was the kitchen, and Rosa settled across from me, studying me with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She began asking if I was single, engaged, making grandmother conversation that was universal regardless of language. "Grandma, leave her alone," Dante called from the kitchen, clearly having heard. "I'm just making conversation." "Single," I admitted, amused despite my nervousness. "And yes, before you ask, it's intentional. My work keeps me busy." Dante returned with water and wine, sitting at the head of the table in a position that felt both natural and commanding. "What kind of work do you do?" "I'm a freelance translator, mainly Italian to English, but also Spanish and French. I work with companies, law firms, sometimes tourists." "And you speak Italian so well," he observed. Where did you learn? From my grandparents. Then I studied in Florence for a year during university. Florence, Rosa said wistfully. A beautiful city. I used to go there often when I was young. They asked me about my family, my work, my life in New York. Normal dinner conversation. Except for the undercurrent I couldn't quite identify. Dante's questions felt like an interview. Rosa's was like a grandmother vetting a potential match. Rocco's continued presence in the doorway felt like security rather than staff. I really need to go, I said after an hour had passed. I have translations to finish tonight. We'll take you, Dante said immediately. Rocco, prepare the car. That's not necessary. I can take the subway. It's already evening. We won't let you take the subway alone, he said firmly. His tone suggested this wasn't negotiable. It's Brooklyn. Not safe at night. I wanted to argue, but his grandmother was nodding agreement, and Rocco was already bringing a car around. I found myself being efficiently escorted into a black SUV. Nice but not ostentatious, clearly expensive. Where do you live? Dante asked as Rocco started driving. Queens. Astoria. The drive should have been 20 minutes. Instead, Dante spent 40 minutes asking more questions about my translation work, my clients, whether I worked from home. Questions that felt increasingly specific, increasingly pointed. Do you ever work with legal documents? Sometimes. Why? Just curious about the type of work you do, the clients you have. It's important to know who you're working with in this city. We reached my building, a modest apartment complex in a neighborhood that was safe but clearly nothing like his brownstone. Dante looked at it with an expression I couldn't read. This is where you live alone? Yes, it's small but comfortable. Thank you for the ride and for dinner, Elena. He touched my arm as I moved to exit. Can I have your number? For my grandmother. She'd like to stay in touch with you. For my grandmother. I should have said no. I should have recognized the warning signs, the intensity, the way this felt like more than simple gratitude. But Rosa had been sweet, and Dante had been nothing but polite, and it seemed rude to refuse. I gave him my number. Thank you, he said, his smile transforming his face from dangerous to genuinely warm. You were very kind today. I won't forget that. After I got out, I watched the vehicle drive away and tried to shake the feeling that I just made a decision I couldn't take back. My phone rang at 8 the next morning. Unknown number. Hello? Elena, it's Dante. I hope I didn't wake you. No, I was already awake. Is everything okay? Is your grandmother all right? She's fine. She keeps talking about you. She wants you to come to lunch on Sunday. That's very sweet, but... And I agree. You should come. Please, Elena, it would mean a lot to her. And to me. I should have said no. I should have maintained boundaries with this intense stranger and his clearly wealthy, possibly dangerous family. But Rosa had been genuinely kind and refusing felt rude. Okay, Sunday lunch, but just lunch. Just lunch, he agreed. But something in his voice suggested this was just the beginning. Sunday lunch turned into a weekly tradition. Every week, Rosa would cook elaborate Italian meals while I helped in the kitchen, translating recipes and chatting about everything from Italian politics to family gossip. Dante would join us, sometimes with other men who were clearly associates, all of them speaking Italian among themselves. You like Dante, don't you? Rosa asked one afternoon while we were alone in the kitchen. He's very nice. But Rosa, I barely know him. And I feel like there's something you're not telling me. What do you mean, dear? The men who come here. Rocco, who's always present, the way everyone speaks to Dante with respect, but also with fear. I'm not stupid. I know there's more happening than what I see. Rosa sighed, setting down the wooden spoon. She looked at me, her expression turning dead serious as she continued in our shared Italian. You are smart. I always said so. Yes, there's more. But it's not my story to tell. If Dante wants you to know, he'll tell you himself. But is it safe for me to be here? To be involved with your family? With Dante? You're safer than anywhere else in this city, she said firmly. That I can promise you. That wasn't as reassuring as she thought it was. After lunch that day, Dante asked to speak with me privately. We went to his study, a room I'd seen from the doorway but never entered. It was elegant but functional, with a large desk, multiple phones, and a wall of security monitors showing various parts of the neighborhood. You know what I do, he said without preamble. Or at least you suspect. I suspect you're not just a businessman. I'm exactly a businessman. It's just that my business operates outside the law. He sat on the edge of his desk, studying me. I manage operations for my family in Brooklyn. Protection, some imports, dispute resolution. It's complicated. You're in the Mafia. We're an organization that provides services the legal system can't or won't provide. You call it Mafia. I call it family business. The truth is somewhere in the middle. His dark eyes were intense. And you, Elena, why do I keep inviting you here if you know this? Because I'm useful, I said. trying to sound more confident than I felt. Because you're useful, he agreed bluntly. You have language skills I could use. And because my grandmother loves you, and I respect my grandmother's judgment. You want me to work for you? I want to offer you a job. Translating documents, interpreting for meetings, helping with communications between Italian families and our operations here. But you speak perfect English, I pointed out. Why do you need a translator? Using a neutral translator in Mafia sit-down shows dominance, he explained smoothly. It maintains a professional distance. And honestly, hearing everything translated buys me precious seconds to think before I respond. I need someone I can trust completely. He named a monthly salary that was 3 times what I made freelancing. Legitimate work. Just translation. Nothing illegal. But for illegal clients. For clients who would appreciate your discretion and competence. Alina, I'm offering you financial security and protection. In exchange, you use your skills to help my organization communicate better. And if I say no, then we continue being friends. You come to lunch, talk to my grandmother. No pressure. His dark eyes held mine. But Elena, I think you should consider it seriously. You'll find yourself in situations where having my protection is valuable. And paying your rent with translations for lawyers who underpay you, it's a waste of your talent. I need to think about it. Take all the time you need. But while you're thinking, come to this meeting Thursday. Just to observe. See what the work would involve. Then decide. I spent 3 days agonizing over the decision. Called my best friend Rachel, carefully explaining without revealing too much. He's offering you a job translating for his family business? That sounds legitimate, she said over the phone. His family business is organized crime, Rachel. That's not legitimate. But you'd just be translating. You're not doing anything illegal yourself. She paused. How much is he offering? When I told her, she whistled. That's life-changing money, Elena, and for something you're already good at. Is it really that different from the legal work you do now? Those law firms have clients who are probably criminals, too. You just don't know about it. She had a point. I had translated documents for law firms that definitely skirted ethical lines. Was this really that different? Thursday evening, Rocco picked me up as promised. We drove to a restaurant in Brooklyn, closed for the evening, apparently rented out for this meeting. Inside, about a dozen men sat around a large table. Dante sat at the head, clearly in charge despite not being the oldest person present. This is Elena, Dante introduced me. She's here to observe tonight, see if the work interests her. The meeting was surreal. They discussed territories, payments, disputes. I realized they were testing me, seeing how well I could follow conversations in both languages. Whether I understood the implications of what was being said. And I did understand. I heard them talk about protection money, about settling scores. But there was also an underlying code. Respect, honor, rules about who could be targeted, and who was off limits. It wasn't the lawless violence I'd imagined. It was organized, systematic, almost corporate in its structure. After 2 hours, Dante ended the meeting. The men filed out, several of them nodding to me respectfully as they left. So, Dante asked when we were alone, what do you think? It's exactly what I thought, and completely different at the same time. Could you do it? Translate for meetings like this. Handle communications with our Italian contacts. Would I be safe? I mean, if I know all these things about your business. You'd be under my personal protection. No one touches you. No one threatens you. And if someone tries, his expression went cold. They discover why people respect me. It's not just about my language skills, is it? There's another reason you want me in your organization. You're smart, Elena. Too smart to lie to. He moved closer. Yes, I like you more than I should. But I'm offering you this job because you're genuinely good and genuinely useful. My personal feelings are separate. But not completely separate. No, not completely, he admitted. But I'm not asking anything personal, just to work for me. If something else happens, it'll be because you want it, not because you feel obligated. I took the job, partially for the money, partially for the challenge, and partially because of how Dante looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. My first official assignment was translating at a meeting with a family from Sicily. Important people, Dante explained, who were considering expanding operations to New York. You have to be perfect, he told me. These men are traditional. They don't trust easily. But if they see we have someone who speaks perfect Italian, someone who understands nuances, it gives us credibility. The meeting went well. I translated flawlessly, caught subtle implications, and helped bridge cultural gaps. The Sicilian boss, Don Carmine, was particularly impressed. Your translator is excellent, he said. It's rare to find Americans who speak Italian so well. She's a treasure, Moretti. Protect her well. After they left, Dante pulled me aside. You were perfect, better than I hoped. They were kind, respectful, not like I expected Sicilian mafia bosses to be. We're not all violent, uncultured monsters, he said with a slight smile. Some of us appreciate art, language, traditions. And you? What do you appreciate, Dante Moretti? Right now? His dark eyes held mine. A smart woman who challenges my expectations every time I meet her. My phone rang. My personal phone, not the work phone Dante had given me. Rachel, probably wondering how my first official mob translator job had gone. Sorry, I should answer this. Go ahead. I stepped into the hallway, but before I could answer I heard raised voices from outside, then gunshots. Rocco burst into the hallway. Boss, we have a problem. It's the Falcones, 3 cars. Dante was moving immediately, pulling a gun from a desk drawer with practiced ease. How many men? 8, maybe 10. They're blocking the street. Dante looked at me, his expression shifting to something protective and fierce. Alina, go to the back office. Lock the door. Don't come out until I get you myself. What's happening? Now, his command was sharp. Rocco, take her to the back. Make sure no one gets near that door. Rocco grabbed my arm, pulling me through the restaurant toward a back office. More gunshots outside. Closer now. Men shouting, threats, warnings. Stay here, Rocco ordered. Lock the door from the inside and don't open it for anyone except the boss, understand? He pulled the door shut, and I immediately turned the deadbolt. I stood in the small office, hearing violence unfold beyond the walls, and realized exactly what I'd gotten myself into. This wasn't just translating at meetings. This was real danger. The gunfire lasted maybe 5 minutes. An eternity when you're trapped in a locked room, wondering if the man you're falling for is about to die. Then silence. Terrible, ominous silence. Finally a knock. Alina, it's me, open up. I unlocked the door to find Dante looking rough. Shirt torn, blood on his knuckles, but otherwise unharmed. Behind him, the restaurant was trashed. Broken glass, overturned tables. Are you hurt? He asked. No, I'm fine. But you. I reached for his hands. The bloody knuckles. Are you injured? Scratches, nothing serious. He pulled me close. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to see this. Not so soon. Who were they? A rival family that thinks they can intimidate me. They were wrong. Now they know. Dante, I can't. This is too much. I know it's too much. That's why I wanted to wait before involving you completely. His hands cupped my face. But Elena, you're already involved. From the moment you helped my grandmother. From the moment you came into this house. You became part of my life. And in my life, there are people who want to hurt me by using people I care about. You care about me more than is safe for you, he admitted. And that's why I can't let you leave now. Not when the Falcones know about you, have seen you with me. You're in danger if you go, and you're in danger if you stay. But at least if you stay, I can protect you. So I'm a prisoner. You're under my protection. There's a difference. His dark eyes were intense. And Elena, I'm not going to apologize for wanting to keep you safe. After the attack, Dante insisted I stay at the brownstone temporarily, which we both knew meant indefinitely. Rosa was thrilled, immediately setting me up in a guest room. Finally a woman in this house, she exclaimed in Italian. Dante works too much. Rocco is always serious. You bring life here. Grandma, Elena is here for safety, not to keep us company, Dante told her gently. It can be both things, Rosa replied stubbornly, patting my cheek. My life changed overnight. I worked from the brownstone, translating documents and attending meetings virtually when possible. When I had to go out, Rocco or another guard accompanied me. My apartment in Queens sat empty while I lived in luxury with an elderly Italian woman and the man I was trying not to fall in love with. This isn't normal, I told Dante one evening after dinner. I can't live like this forever. Why not? You have everything you need. Work, security, family. Freedom. I miss freedom. Freedom will get you killed if the Falcones decide you're a way to get to me. His voice was hard. I'm sorry, Elena. I know this isn't fair. But I'd rather have you alive and protected than free and in danger. What if I want both? Then we have to solve the Falcone situation permanently, he said. I'm working on it. Trust me. Weeks passed. I adjusted to my new life. Working for Dante's organization, living with him and Rosa, becoming part of their daily routine. The lines between professional translator and personal involvement blurred increasingly. You like my grandson, Rosa observed one afternoon while we cooked. It's complicated, Rosa. Love is always complicated, especially in our family. She smiled softly. But he looks at you the way he looked at that girl years ago. Before she left. What girl, Sophia? They were engaged. She couldn't handle the life, the violence, the complications. She left. Rosa's expression was sad. Dante never fully recovered. He hasn't let himself love anyone since. Until now. Until you. He looks at you like he looked at her. But this time is different. You're stronger. You won't run. I'm not so sure about that. Some nights I just want to run from all of this. But you don't. You stay. That says everything, Rosa said wisely. That evening, Dante asked me to join him in his study. He looked tired, stressed. I found a way to solve the Falcone situation, he said. But it requires your help. They need to meet with an Italian contact. Someone who can mediate, find a compromise between our families. But they don't trust anyone connected to me. He pulled out a file. Except a neutral translator who works for both sides. You want me to pretend to be neutral? To translate for them while actually working for you? I want you to be exactly what you present yourself as. Someone who can translate for both sides. Facilitate a conversation that could end this conflict. His dark eyes were serious. It's dangerous if they discover you're closer to me than you appear. Then why ask me to do it? Because you're the only person both sides might trust. I wouldn't ask this if I wasn't desperate. But Elena, if this works, if we can negotiate peace, you can go back to your life, to your freedom. What if I don't want to go back anymore? His expression shifted. Hope, surprise, careful control. What do you mean? I mean, I've gotten used to living here, having Rosa cook, working for your organization, seeing you every evening. If we solve this, if there's no more danger, do I have to leave all of this? Only if you want to, he said softly. Elena, I fell in love with you weeks ago. I'm just waiting for you to realize the same about yourself. If you stay, it won't just be for safety. It'll be because you want to be here with me, despite all the complications. The meeting with the Falcones was arranged for the following week in neutral territory. I was to present myself as an independent translator. Remember, Dante instructed me the night before. Don't show favoritism. Translate everything accurately. Your job is to facilitate communication, not take sides. What if they ask about our relationship? Tell the truth. That you initially met me helping my grandmother. That you now work as a translator for various Italian families. That I'm one of your clients. Don't lie, Elena. Lies get complicated. The meeting was tense from the start. Don Falcone arrived with 6 guards. Dante brought 4, including Rocco. I sat at the head of the table, literally between them. For the next 2 hours, the room fell into a tense rhythm. I translated Don Falcone's sharp Italian into English for Dante, and relayed Dante's careful English back into Italian. Accusations, counteroffers, grudging compromises. Then Don Falcone looked at me directly. You're the girl who lives with Moretti, right? The translator he took in. I'm staying in his family's house temporarily, I replied smoothly, translating my own words. I work for several Italian families. The Moretti family is one of them. But you're closer to him than to other clients, Falcone pressed. I'm professional with all my clients. Even when you sleep in their house, his tone mocking. The room went quiet. Dante's expression was controlled but dangerous. I could feel the tension escalating. Mrs. Moretti, his grandmother, invited me to stay after there was a security issue, I said carefully. I accepted because I felt it was safer. But this doesn't affect my ability to translate accurately for this meeting. Interesting, Falcone said. Moretti keeps his translator in his house, but wants me to believe she's neutral. I wonder what else they share. Before I could respond, Dante spoke in Italian directly to Falcone, bypassing me as translator for the first time. What I do or don't share with Elena is irrelevant to our business. She's here to facilitate communication. If you don't trust her translations, bring your own translator. But don't insult her by making insinuations about her professionalism. Ah, so you defend her honor. How romantic, Falcone scoffed. Perhaps we should discuss this agreement another time, when your judgment isn't clouded by affection for your translator. The meeting ended badly. No agreement reached, tensions higher than before. As we left, Dante was furious. I'm sorry, I said in the car. I ruined everything. You didn't ruin anything. Falcone was looking for an excuse to blow up the meeting. He used you as the reason. This means he has something else planned, something he doesn't want to resolve peacefully. What do? We prepare, because whatever he's planning, it's going to happen soon. Dante was right. 3 days later, the Falcones made their move, not against Dante directly, but against his business interests. They hit 3 of his legitimate storefronts in one night, causing damage and sending a message. He wants war, Rocco reported. This is his way of declaring it. Then he'll have war, Dante said coldly. But on my terms, not his. Over the next week, I watched Dante transform into someone I'd only glimpsed before. The true mob boss. He was strategic, ruthless, coordinating responses that I deliberately didn't ask about, but could guess involved violence. Are you afraid of me now? He asked one evening. He'd come home late, exhausted. Should I be? Probably. He poured himself whiskey. I'm exactly what you've always known I was. A criminal. Someone who uses violence to solve problems. Someone who does things that would horrify you if you knew the details. But you've never hurt me. Not me. Not Rosa. Not people you love. No. But that doesn't make me good, Elena. It just makes me selective about who I hurt. I moved to him, taking the glass from his hand. You're exhausted, stressed, fighting a war you didn't want but have to win. You're not a monster, Dante. You're just a man in an impossible situation, doing what he has to do. Do you love me? His question was direct, vulnerable. Yes, I admitted, even though it's stupid. Even though it's complicated. Even though I probably should run. Yes, I love you. He kissed me then, desperately, like I was an anchor in a storm, and I kissed him back, accepting finally that I'd chosen this life, this man, these complications. I love you, he murmured against my lips. Since you helped my grandmother, since you stayed instead of running, since you looked at my life and chose to be part of it, instead of condemning it, then win this war with the Falcones. Win it so we can have a life together that's something more than hiding in this house. I will, I promise you. The war lasted 6 brutal weeks. 6 weeks of contained violence, strategic moves, sleepless nights waiting for Dante to come home. Rosa prayed the rosary every evening. I learned to translate orders that I knew would lead to violence without asking for details. You've become like us, Rocco observed one evening. At first you were nervous, scared. Now you translate orders for operations like it's normal office work. I've adapted. What else can I do? You could still leave. No one would stop you if you decided to go, except myself. I'm already too involved to pretend I could go back to my old life. I looked at him. Besides, where would I go? The Falcones know who I am. Dante told me I have information on both sides now. I'm a target wherever I go. Then you're one of us now. Not a civilian observer anymore. You're family. The war ended when Dante found leverage the Falcones couldn't ignore. Evidence of their involvement in something that would bring federal attention. Le Pen. He presented it through intermediaries. Back down. Or face prosecution that would destroy their entire organization. Don Falcone accepted the terms. Territory agreements were redrawn, financial compensations made, and an uneasy peace established. It's over, Dante told me when he came home that night. The Falcones accepted the terms. No more war. Are we safe? As safe as anyone can be in my world. He pulled me close, which means you need to decide what you want to do now. You can go back to your apartment, to your life, or you can stay here with me permanently. What does permanently mean? It means marry me. Become officially part of my family. Not just the translator who lives here or the girl I'm protecting, but my wife. His dark eyes were intense. I love you, Elena. I want you to stay not because you have to, but because you choose to be with me. You want to marry me? We've only known each other 5 months. I knew I wanted to marry you after 2 weeks. The rest of the time was just waiting for you to reach the same conclusion. He pulled out a ring box. So, will you marry a mob boss who's hopelessly in love with you? I looked at the ring. Simple, elegant, clearly expensive but not ostentatious. Then at Dante, this complicated man who'd brought me into his world and protected me through its dangers. Yes, I said. I'll marry you, even though it's crazy. Even though my life has become something I never imagined. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was brilliant. He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me deeply in the hallway. When we broke apart, Rose was standing nearby, tears streaming down her face. Finally, she exclaimed in Italian. I thought you'd never ask. We need to start planning immediately. A proper Italian wedding. Family food. Grandma, we just got engaged, Dante said with amusement. And you're already over 30. We don't have time to waste, she responded. You'll see, Elena. We'll make it beautiful. The wedding was planned for 3 months later. Rosa insisted on doing it properly. Traditional Italian ceremony, reception with hundreds of guests, every detail perfect. It's too much, I protested as she showed me the ever-growing guest list. It's your first and only wedding. It has to be perfect, Rosa told me. Everyone must see that Dante has found someone worthy of him. Rosa, I'm not sure I'm worthy of him. Don't be silly, you're perfect for him. You keep him human. Remind him there's more than violence and power. He's worthy of you, not the other way around. Working for Dante's organization became my full-time career. I translated for meetings, handled communications with Italian families, even traveled to Sicily to meet with Don Carmine about business arrangements. I was good at it, better than Dante had anticipated. You've become indispensable, he told me one evening, after a particularly successful negotiation. Half the families we work with prefer communicating through you rather than directly with me. Because I'm neutral, not threatening, I facilitate business without intimidation. That's exactly why you're so valuable. You have a talent for this, Elena, for navigating between different families, maintaining relationships, finding compromises. He kissed me softly. You've made me a better man and a better boss. I don't know if being a better boss is really a compliment in my world. It is. A better boss means less violence, more stability, happier families. You've helped me achieve that. The wedding was exactly as Rosa had envisioned. Traditional, elaborate, perfect. The church was packed with Dante's family and associates, my small handful of friends looking slightly overwhelmed by the display of Italian Catholic tradition and obvious mob presence. Are you sure about this? Rachel whispered before the ceremony. This is a lot more sure than I've ever been about anything. I walked down the aisle to Dante, waiting at the altar, looking devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo. The ceremony was conducted in Italian, with English translations provided. Traditional vows, traditional blessings. I love you, Dante said when it was time for our vows. I promise to protect you, honor you, and love you for all the days of my life. You're my light in the darkness. I love you, I responded. I promise to stand by your side, support your choices, and love the man you are. Not despite the complications, but including them. You're my heart. The reception was massive. Hundreds of people, more food than seemed possible, dancing and laughter. Don Carmine made a speech about how the Moretti family was blessed to have found someone who bridged their world with the old country so effortlessly. To the bride, he concluded, raising his glass. May she bring honor to the Moretti name. Later, alone with Dante in our suite at the hotel, where we'd spend our wedding night before flying to Italy for a honeymoon, I finally let myself fully process what I'd done. I'm a mob wife now, I said, looking at my wedding ring. Officially part of a criminal organization. Do you regret it? No, but it's surreal. 5 months ago, I was just helping a lost tourist. Now I'm married to a mob boss, work for his organization, and just promised to stand by his side for life. And I promise to love you and protect you for the rest of mine. He pulled me into his arms. I'll never lie to you, Elena. My life is dangerous. There will be moments of fear, danger, difficulty. But we'll go through everything together. Together, I agreed, kissing him. I can't believe all this started, because I spoke Italian with your grandmother. The best things in my life started in unexpected ways. My grandmother gave me you. And you gave me a reason to be something more than what my father wanted me to be. What did he want you to be? Ruthless, feared, just power without compassion. He touched my face gently. You taught me I can be powerful and have a heart, that I can lead my family and love my woman, that I don't have to be a monster just because my job requires difficult decisions. Our honeymoon in Sicily was beautiful. 2 weeks visiting Rosa's hometown, meeting distant relatives, exploring the countryside. Dante was more relaxed than I'd ever seen him, temporarily free from the weight of leadership. We could stay here, I suggested one evening. We were sitting on a terrace overlooking the Mediterranean, wine in hand, perfectly content. Leave the organization. Live a normal life in Italy. Tempting, but irresponsible. I have obligations, people who depend on me. I can't just walk away. He squeezed my hand. But maybe someday, when I'm old and ready to pass leadership to someone else. Maybe then we can retire here, live in peace. I'd like that. 20 years, he promised. When I've done enough for the family that no one can say I abandoned my duties, then we'll come here. You and me, and whatever children we have by then. Children. That was the first time he'd mentioned it. Eventually. Not right away. It's not safe to bring children into my world until I'm ready to protect them completely. But, someday, yes. I want kids with you. I want a family that's more than crime and violence. I want to build something good in the middle of all the bad. Back in New York, life settled into routine. I worked as Dante's translator and liaison to Italian families, managed communications that kept his organization running smoothly. I'd become an essential part of operations, not through violence, but through diplomacy and language skills. A year into our marriage, Rosa's health began declining. She was 82, had been active and vibrant, but age finally caught up. We took care of her at home, Dante refusing to send her to a hospital, insisting she be comfortable in her own house. I'm sorry to leave you, she told me one afternoon. We were alone, Dante handling business downstairs. Don't say that, Rosa. You'll be fine. No, dear, I know when it's time. She squeezed my hand, her voice barely a whisper in her native tongue. But I'm happy. I saw Dante happy. Married to a good girl. I saw him become the man his father never was. This is because of you. It's because of him. He chose to be different. He chose because you showed him he could choose. Before you, he thought he was only what his father wanted. You gave him options, gave him hope. Her eyes were bright with tears. Take care of him, Elena. He's strong, but has a tender heart. Don't let his world harden him too much. I promise, Rosa. She passed away peacefully in her sleep 3 days later. Dante was devastated. She'd raised him, been more parent than his actual father who died when he was young. The funeral was massive, hundreds of people paying respects to a woman who'd been beloved by everyone who knew her. "It's my fault," Dante said the night after the funeral. We were alone in our room, the brownstone too quiet without Rosa's presence. The pressure of my life, the war with the Falcones, it was too much for her. She was 82 years old. She lived a full life, saw you happy. This isn't your fault, Dante. But if I'd chosen a different life, if I hadn't been involved in all this, she was proud of you. She told me you became the man your father never was, that I gave her the chance to see you truly happy before she died. I held him close. You didn't fail her. You gave her exactly what she needed. A grandson who loved her, a granddaughter-in-law who treated her like family, and peace knowing you wouldn't be alone. He cried then, something I'd never seen him do. Grieving not just for his grandmother, but for the innocence she'd represented. The connection to a simpler time before violence and power had defined his life. "Let's promise something," he said after. "When we have children, they won't grow up like I did. They'll have choices. They won't be obligated into the family business just because it's tradition. I promise, whatever children we have will have the freedom to choose their own path." 2 years after Rosa's death, I discovered I was pregnant. The news sent Dante into a state of protective overdrive that would have been amusing if it wasn't so intense. "You're not working anymore," he announced immediately when I told him. "Not until after the baby is born. Maybe not even then. Dante, I'm pregnant, not fragile. I can still translate documents from home. Documents fine. But no more in-person meetings. No more traveling to other families. You stay here where it's safe." His expression was fierce. "Someone could use you to get to me. Now that you're carrying my child, you're even more valuable as a target. So I'm a prisoner again. You're protected. There's a difference." He pulled me close, one hand moving to my still flat stomach. "I can't lose you. Either of you. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe." The pregnancy was smooth, but felt endless with Dante's hovering. He increased security, limited my travel, insisted I work only from home. It was suffocating but also touching, seeing this dangerous man transformed into a worried, expectant father. "You're going to make her paranoid," I told him one evening. We'd learned we were having a girl. All this security, all this protection. She'll grow up thinking the world is dangerous. The world is dangerous, especially for my daughter. He was reviewing security camera feeds on his phone. "I need to make sure nothing can touch her, or you. Nothing will touch us. We have more security than the president. You need to relax. I'll relax when she's born healthy, and both of you are safe." Mia, we named her after Rosa's mother, arrived 3 weeks early. She was perfect, healthy, and immediately the most protected baby in New York. Dante hired a security team specifically for her, installed cameras throughout the house, and made it clear to every family in the city that his daughter was completely off limits. "You're being overprotective," I said, watching him check the nursery monitors for the 3rd time that hour. "I'm being appropriate. There are people who would use her to get to me. I won't let that happen." He pulled up the camera feeds on his phone. "I know I'm being paranoid. But Elena, she's everything. You and her, you're my entire world. If anything happened, nothing is going to happen. We have security, we're careful, and everyone knows touching us means war with you. That's significant deterrent." I took his phone away. "Come hold your daughter," instead of watching her on screens. Balancing motherhood with my translation work was challenging but manageable. I worked from home, did virtual consultations when possible, and brought Mia to meetings when necessary, surrounded by security, and making it clear she was off limits to business discussions. "She's adorable," Don Carmine said at one meeting. "Mia was sleeping in her carrier beside me, and you're handling this well. Being a mother in our world isn't easy. Neither is being a mother anywhere. At least here I have resources, security, help. People who understand the complications," I replied. "Just remember, she'll grow up in this world. She'll learn things normal children don't. You and Moretti need to decide early how much of his business she'll eventually know." That conversation happened when Mia was 2. Dante and I sat in his study discussing her future. "I want her to have choices I didn't," Dante said. "I was born into this, expected to take over operations. But Mia, she should be able to choose something legitimate if she wants. She'll still grow up knowing what you do. Knowing her father runs a criminal organization. We can't hide that from her forever, no. But we can give her options, education, opportunities. Ways out if she doesn't want this life." He looked at me. "What about you? Do you want her involved in your operations? Learning the translation work like you did, only if she's interested, and only the legitimate parts. Until she's old enough to understand the rest and make informed choices. I thought about it. I don't want to force her into this world. but I also don't want to lie about it. She deserves honesty about her family. Then we'll be honest. Age appropriately, but honest. She'll know what I do, what you do, what our world is, and then, when she's old enough, she can decide if she wants to be part of it or walk away completely. You'd really let her walk away if she wanted a normal life? I'd do anything to give her a normal life. Even if that means she grows up and wants nothing to do with the family business. His expression was pained. She deserves better than this world, better than me. If she can have that, I'll support it completely. She has the best father. That's already better than many kids get. The rest we'll figure out together. Mia grew into a bright, curious child who asked too many questions and saw too much, despite our attempts to shelter her. By age 5, she'd figured out her father wasn't a normal businessman. Why do people look scared when they talk to Daddy? She asked me one day. Because Daddy is very important. He makes big decisions that affect a lot of people. Is he a good guy or a bad guy? That question made me pause. How did you explain moral complexity to a 5-year-old? He's your daddy who loves you. That's the most important thing. The rest is complicated adult stuff. You'll understand when you're older. Okay, she accepted that easily, going back to her coloring. But I knew the questions would only get harder as she got older. At 10, she asked directly, "Is Daddy in the Mafia?" Dante and I exchanged glances. We'd agreed to be honest when she asked it directly. "Yes," Dante said simply. "I run an organization that operates outside the law. It's not legal, but it's what I do. What my family has always done. Are you a bad person? That's for you to decide. I try to be a good father, a good husband, someone who protects people he cares about. But I've done things that aren't good, things that hurt people." He knelt to her level. "I won't lie to you about what I am, Mia. But I also want you to know that I love you more than anything. That will never change, no matter what you learn about my work." She thought about it seriously. "Do I have to do what you do when I grow up?" "No, you can be anything you want, doctor, teacher, artist, anything. This world is your choice, not your obligation." "Good. Because I think I want to be a veterinarian. Animals are better than people." She hugged him. "But you're still my dad, even if you're a criminal." "Even if I'm a criminal," he agreed, holding her close. After she went to bed, he looked shaken. "She knows, really knows, and she doesn't hate me, because she loves you. Because you're a good father, despite your profession. That's what matters to her." I took his hand. "We're doing this right. Being honest, giving her choices, showing her there's more to life than the family business. She'll be okay. I hope so, because I want better for her than what I had. I want her to have a real choice about her future. She will. We're making sure of it." Mia chose normality. At 18, she went to college for veterinary medicine, moved into a dorm with regular students, and built a life completely separate from Dante's world. She loved us, visited regularly, but made it clear she wanted no part of the family business. "I'm proud of her," Dante said, watching her drive away after a weekend visit. "She saw what we are and chose something better. That takes courage." "Are you disappointed that she's not taking over your operations?" "Relieved. I never wanted this life for her. Wanted her to have choices I didn't." He pulled me close. "She's happy, safe, building a legitimate career. That's worth more than having an heir to the business." "What happens to your organization when you retire?" "I've been training Rocco. He'll take over operations, keep things running. The family name will persist without requiring our daughter to sacrifice her future for it." He kissed my forehead. "I'm getting too old for this anyway. Maybe it's time to step back. Focus on being a grandfather someday." "Grandfather? You think Mia is going to have kids?" "Eventually. And when she does, I want to be the normal grandfather who spoils them. Not the criminal grandfather they have to hide from friends." His expression was thoughtful. "I've been thinking about this more. About legacy. What do I want to leave behind? A criminal empire, or a family that's happy and safe? You can have both. You've already built a family that's happy and safe despite the empire. Maybe. But I'm tired, Elena. Tired of the violence, the constant vigilance, the moral compromises. I've been doing this for nearly 25 years. Maybe it's time to let Rocco handle operations, while I transition to legitimate businesses only." I'd never heard him talk like this. Contemplating retirement. Wanting normality. What would you do if you step back from the organization? Focus on our legitimate holdings. The real estate, the restaurants, the legal import businesses. We have enough legitimate money that we don't need the criminal operations anymore. They're just habit and obligation at this point. He looked at me. "What about you? Would you walk away from the translation work?" "I've been thinking about that too. I'm 45 now. Mia is grown. We're financially secure. Maybe it's time to just be a legitimate consultant, instead of one who works for crime families. We could do it together. Transition out." Become the boring, legitimate couple who used to be interesting criminals. He smiled. Think you could handle boring? I think boring sounds perfect after 20 years of complicated. The transition took 3 years of careful planning. Dante handed operations to Rocco piece by piece, ensuring smooth succession. I referred my crime family clients to other translators, slowly extracting myself from illegal operations. By the time we were done, we were just wealthy business owners with a questionable past. This is weird, I said one evening. We were having dinner at home, just the two of us. No business discussions, no security meetings. Being normal, having a quiet evening without worrying about territories or rivals or federal investigations. Boring like we planned, Dante poured wine. Any regrets? Not one. Though I do miss the excitement sometimes. The challenge of facilitating negotiations, interpreting for powerful men, operating in moral gray areas. We can get our excitement elsewhere. Travel, hobbies, spoiling future grandchildren. He raised his glass to boring normality after 20 years of organized crime, to normality, and to the weird path that got us here. Mia married at 28. A veterinarian like herself, someone completely removed from our world. The wedding was traditional, boring, perfect. I watched Dante walk our daughter down the aisle and saw emotions he rarely showed. Pride, joy, relief that she'd built a life so different from his own. She did it, he said at the reception. Built something completely separate from us. Clean, legitimate, normal. Because we gave her that option. Supported her choices, even when they took her away from the family business. I squeezed his hand. We did parenting right, Dante, despite the complications. 2 years later, Mia announced she was pregnant. Dante's face when she told him, pure joy mixed with terror, made me laugh. You're going to be a grandfather. That means you're old, I teased. I'm 55. That's not old. But he was already planning, talking about security for his grandchild. Dante, stop. Mia chose a normal life. That includes normal grandparent relationships. No security teams for a suburban baby. But what if my enemies? Your enemies are Rocco's problem now. You're retired. Your granddaughter will grow up completely normal, never knowing her grandfather used to run a criminal organization. You think we can really do that? Keep our past from affecting her future? I think we've been doing it successfully with Mia for years. We can do it again with her. Lily, named after Dante's mother, was born on a spring morning. She was perfect, healthy, and completely oblivious to her family's complicated history. Watching Dante hold his granddaughter, tears in his eyes, I saw the man I'd fallen in love with over 30 years ago. Not the mob boss, but the person underneath. Someone capable of profound love despite his dark past. She's beautiful, he breathed, perfect. She'll grow up knowing her nonno is just a successful businessman. That's good enough. Better than good enough. That's the greatest gift we could give her. Ignorance of what we really were. 5 years later, we were fully entrenched in normal grandparent life. Lily visited regularly, completely unaware that her nonno used to run organized crime. She thought he was boring, owned restaurants and buildings, talked about investments. Nonno's stories are funny, Lily told me one day. She was 5, bright, curious. He talks about people with weird names like Rocco, and people from the old neighborhood. Those are Nonno's old friends from before you were born. Did they do exciting things? Very exciting things, but that was a long time ago. Now we're just regular grandparents who spoil you too much. I like being spoiled. She hugged me. You're my favorite, Nonna. I'm your only Nonna. That's why I'm your favorite. Mia pulled me aside during one visit. Thank you for giving her this. Normal grandparents. No complications. Just love and stability. I was worried Dad wouldn't be able to separate his past from her present. He worked hard to leave that life behind. For you, and now for Lily. She'll never have to know what he was, unless she Googles him someday. The internet doesn't forget. Then we'll explain it honestly, like we did with you. But for now, she can just have a nonno who makes her laugh, and a nonna who teaches her about languages. At 60, Dante was fully retired. We traveled, consulted on legitimate business ventures, lived quietly in the brownstone that had once been the center of criminal operations. Rocco ran the organization Dante had built, occasionally checking in but mostly operating independently. Do you miss it? I asked one evening. The power, the excitement, the danger, sometimes. But then I look at what I have now, you, a daughter who's happy, a granddaughter who thinks I'm boring, and I realize this is better. Peace is better than power. He pulled me close. I spent 25 years fighting for control. Now I'm just enjoying what I have. That's enough. Think we'll get more grandchildren? Lily needs, I said one evening, watching Dante play with Lily in the garden. Mia says they're trying, maybe by next year. He smiled. More normal grandchildren who will grow up thinking they're nano was always legitimate, the ultimate con. Convincing our grandchildren we were never criminals. The best con I've ever run, and the most important. One evening, when Lily was staying over, now 8 and full of questions, she asked about the photos on our walls. Old pictures from when we were younger, including some from family gatherings, that included people clearly not from normal life. "Who are all these people, Nana?" she asked, pointing at various faces. "Old friends from before you were born." Dante pointed to various faces. "That's Rocco. He runs some of my old businesses now. That's your Nana when she was young, before she met me. Why do they all look so serious? Like they're at a business meeting. Because we were always working back then. Didn't know how to relax and have fun like we do now. That sounds boring. I'm glad you know how to have fun now." She hugged him. "You're much better as a fun nano than a serious businessman nano." After she went to bed, Dante held me on the couch. "She'll figure it out eventually. When she's older, starts asking real questions. Maybe Googles my name and finds things. Then we'll explain honestly that you were involved in organized crime, that I helped with operations, that we walked away and built something legitimate. She'll understand or she won't. But Dante, we can't hide forever. Our past exists. I know. I just want her to know us as we are now, not what we were. The grandparents who love her, who are boring and normal and safe." His voice was soft. "Is that too much to ask? It's not. And for now, that's who we are to her. The rest can wait until she's old enough to understand complexity." At 70, Dante had outlived most of his contemporaries from the criminal world. Rocco had retired and handed operations to a new generation. The families we'd worked with had evolved, adapted, changed. Our names were legends from a different era, respected but no longer relevant. "We're dinosaurs," Dante said, reading an article about modern organized crime. "Everything's different now. Cybercrime, cryptocurrency. Nothing like how we operated. We're retired dinosaurs, that's allowed. I was working on a painting, something I'd returned to in retirement, creating art instead of just facilitating business. Our world was different, but it was ours, and we survived it. That's enough. Do you regret any of it? The choices we made, the things we did. I regret that I can't be completely honest about my past, that I have to hide parts of who I was from Lily and any future grandchildren. But the actual choices? No. I fell in love with you knowing what you were. I chose this life fully informed. I can't regret that. Even knowing the danger, the illegality, the moral compromises, even knowing all of that. Because Dante, those choices gave me 25 years with you. A daughter, a granddaughter, a life full of purpose and meaning. I'd make the same choices again." Lily graduated college at 22, pursuing veterinary medicine like her mother. At her graduation party, she pulled us aside, her expression serious. "I need to tell you something," she said. "I've been researching our family history for a project about Nana's past. About both of you." My stomach dropped. "What kind of things?" "Articles about organized crime in Brooklyn, the Moretti family operations from the 90s and early 2000s. Your name is in some of them, Nano, and Nana, yours too, as consultant to multiple crime families." She looked between us. "Were you really part of the Mafia?" Dante and I exchanged glances. We'd known this conversation would come eventually. "Yes," Dante said simply. "I ran organized crime operations for 25 years. Your Nana helped with translation and communication for Italian families. We retired before you were born, transitioned to legitimate businesses. But that past exists. We can't erase it." Lily processed this, her expression cycling through shock, curiosity, and something like understanding. Mom knew. She grew up knowing. Yes. We were honest with her when she was old enough to understand. Gave her choices about her own involvement, which she wisely declined. He moved closer to Lily. "I know this is a lot, learning your grandparents were criminals. But Lily, we never brought that world near you. You grew up safely normally, completely separate from what we were. That was intentional. Why didn't you tell me before? Because you deserved a normal childhood. Deserved grandparents who were just boring and loved you, without the complication of criminal history." I took her hand. "We were going to tell you eventually. Just wanted to wait until you were old enough to understand the complexity." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Did you hurt people?" "Yes," Dante said honestly. "I did things I'm not proud of. Hurt people who probably deserved it, but maybe didn't. Made choices that benefited me at others' expense. I was a criminal, Lily. A successful one, but a criminal nonetheless. And you, Nana? Did you help him do illegal things?" "Yes, I translated for negotiations, facilitated communications between crime families, helped build relationships that made illegal operations run smoothly. I knew exactly what I was doing, and chose to do it anyway." She processed this, studying us both. Then, surprisingly, she hugged Dante. You're still my nano. And you're still the boring grandparents who spoil me and tell bad jokes. This doesn't change that. It's just information, complicated information I need to think about. Take all the time you need. And Lily, if this changes how you see us, if you need distance, we understand. Dante's voice was rough with emotion. We love you. That doesn't change. But we'd understand if your feelings for us change after learning this. They don't. They won't. She pulled me into the hug too. Your family. You always protected Mom, kept her safe, gave her choices. You've been amazing grandparents to me, so you used to be criminals. That's just part of who you were, not all of who you are. Relief flooded through me. Thank you for understanding, for not judging us too harshly. I'm studying to be a vet. I learned early that things aren't simple. Animals aren't just good or bad. People aren't either. You are complicated people in complicated situations, she smiled. Besides, you retired, built legitimate lives. That counts for something. Over the following months, Lily would ask questions occasionally. About specific incidents, about how we'd justified our choices, about the people we'd known. We answered honestly, never romanticizing, but also not apologizing for who we'd been. I'm writing a paper on moral complexity, she told us one evening. She was in graduate school now, studying veterinary ethics, using your story as a case study, with your permission, how good people can make bad choices in complicated circumstances. We're your case study. Dante looked amused. That's certainly one way to process having criminal grandparents. You're perfect for it. You were criminals who had ethics, who drew lines, who eventually walked away. That's more interesting than simple good or evil. She pulled out her notes. Can I interview you both? Get your perspectives on the choices you made. We spent hours answering her questions about how Dante had inherited his position, felt obligated to continue what his family built, about how I'd fallen in love despite the danger, found purpose in illegal work, about the lines we'd drawn, no hurting civilians, no involving children, no unnecessary violence. You created your own moral code within an immoral framework, Lily observed. That's fascinating from an ethics perspective. You weren't good people doing bad things, or bad people pretending to be good. You were complex people making complicated choices in a system that didn't allow for simple morality. That's a very academic way of saying we were criminals with standards, I said. But it's accurate, isn't it? You operated outside the law, but maintained internal ethics. That's worth examining. Her paper earned high marks. Her professor wanted to meet us, the former criminals who'd inspired an ethical analysis. We declined politely. Some parts of our past were better left as academic abstracts rather than personal interviews. At 75, Dante's health started declining. Nothing dramatic, just the slow accumulation of age. Arthritis, heart issues. The price of decades of stress and danger. He retired completely from even our legitimate businesses, spending his days reading, gardening, spoiling great-grandchildren when they visited. I'm getting old, he said one evening. We were sitting on the back patio watching the sunset. Can't pretend otherwise anymore. You're a distinguished silver fox, aging gracefully. I took his hand, still strong despite the arthritis, still bearing the scars of his past. We're both getting old. That's what happens when you survive past 70. Do you think we lived good lives? Despite the choices we made, the things we did, I think we lived full lives. Complicated, morally ambiguous, sometimes dangerous, but full. We loved each other, raised a good daughter, protected our family, eventually walked away and built something legitimate. I squeezed his hand. That's more than many people accomplish, legal or not. I love you. Have loved you since that day you helped my grandmother in Times Square. You looked at her with such kindness, at me without fear, even when you should have been afraid. You've been the best part of my life, Elena, the thing I'm most proud of. Not your criminal empire, not the power you wielded. That was survival. You were a choice. You were the decision I made for myself, not for family obligation or business necessity. Loving you, building a life with you, that was the only thing I did that was purely mine. Mia and Lily came to visit more frequently as Dante's health declined. Brought Lily's children. Now 3 of them, ranging from infant to 5 years old. They'd climb on their great-grandfather's lap, demanding stories, making him laugh in ways that seemed to revitalize him temporarily. Tell us about the old neighborhood, Great Nano, the oldest would say. About your friends and the exciting things you did. The old neighborhood was loud and crowded, and full of interesting people, Dante would say, carefully editing his stories for young ears. We worked hard, took care of each other, built businesses that lasted. It was a different time. Were you famous in your neighborhood? Yes. People knew my name, respected my family. But famous like movie stars? No. We were just local businessmen who were good at what we did. After the children left, he'd be exhausted but happy. They'll never fully know what I was, what we were, and that's good. They can just know their great-grandparents as old people who tell stories and give them cookies. That's all they need to know. The rest is history that doesn't affect their futures. At 78, Dante had a heart attack. Minor, manageable, but a wake-up call. We spent more time discussing end-of-life wishes, what we wanted for funerals, how to handle estates. I want it simple, he said. No mob funeral with hundreds of people paying respects, just family. Mia, Lily, the great-grandchildren. Rocco, if he's still around. What about the organization, the families you worked with? They have their own leadership now. I'm just history to them. Old stories they tell new recruits about how things used to be. He squeezed my hand. I don't want my funeral to be about what I was. I want it to be about who I became, your husband, Mia's father. A grandfather who tried to give his family better than what he had. We made it to our 50th wedding anniversary, a milestone we'd never imagined during those chaotic early years. The family threw a party, just immediate relatives, nothing elaborate, but it was perfect. 50 years with the same person, Lily said in her toast. That's remarkable in any context. But 50 years starting from a chance encounter helping a lost grandmother. That's fate. That's love. 50 years of corrupting your grandmother, Dante added to laughter, turning a freelance translator into a mob consultant. I'm very proud of that accomplishment. 50 years of reforming your grandfather, I countered, turning a mob boss into a boring legitimate businessman who spoils great-grandchildren. I'm proud of that too. Later, alone in our room, we looked at photos from throughout our relationship. That first meeting in Times Square. Our wedding, Mia's graduation, Lily's birth. Decades of moments captured and preserved. We did good, Dante said softly. Despite everything, the violence, the illegality, the complications. We built something real, something that lasted. That's rare. We did it by being honest, with each other, with Mia, eventually with Lily. No pretending you were better than you were, that I was less involved than I was. Just truth and acceptance and love. Lots of love. He kissed me gently. Thank you for 50 years. For choosing this life, these complications, this man who didn't deserve you but got lucky anyway. You deserved me. We deserved each other. Two complicated people who found each other and made it work despite the odds. Dante passed away 2 years later in his sleep, peacefully. He'd lived to 80, seen his great-grandchildren grow, spent his final years as boring and normal and loved. His funeral was exactly as he'd wanted. Small, family-focused, celebrating the man he'd become rather than what he'd been. Lily delivered the eulogy. My nonno was complicated. He was a criminal who became legitimate. A dangerous man who was gentle with his family. Someone who made bad choices early, but spent decades making better ones. He loved deeply. His wife, his daughter, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren. That love defined him more than any business he ran. He was my nonno. And I'm grateful for every story he told, every cookie he snuck me, every moment I got to know him as just a grandfather, rather than the legend he used to be. I spent 3 more years alone in the brownstone before my own health declined. I'd lived a full life. 83 years of complexity, love, and choices that made sense at the time. I left detailed letters for Lee and the great-grandchildren, explaining my choices, hoping they'd understand. You're being morbid, Mia said when I explained what I'd done. I'm being practical. Your father and I lived complicated lives. I want to make sure our story is told honestly after I'm gone, not romanticized or condemned, just understood. The letters will do that. You've explained everything clearly. They'll understand, Mom. I passed away peacefully 6 months later. My funeral mirrored Dante's, small, family-focused, celebrating a complicated life honestly lived. Lily spoke again, her voice steady despite tears. Nana taught me that people aren't simple, that you can make questionable choices and still be good. That love doesn't require moral perfection, just honesty. She fell in love with a criminal and chose that life fully informed. She helped with illegal operations while maintaining her own ethics. She was my Nana who taught me about languages and courage and accepting complexity. I'm better for having known her. Years later, Lily published an expanded version of her ethics paper, a book about moral complexity and organized crime, using our story as the central case study. It was successful, prompting discussions about how people navigate impossible situations. She dedicated it to Nana and Nano, who taught me that simple morality is a luxury complex people don't have. Thank you for your honesty, your love, and your example of surviving impossible situations while maintaining humanity. Your story deserves to be told truthfully, not as heroes or villains, but as people. And that was our legacy. Not as criminals who got away with it, but as complicated people who made difficult choices, loved deeply despite moral ambiguity, and built a family that thrived despite the darkness. We'd never been simple, but we'd been real. And in the end, that was enough.